it just makes the colors really stand out. That's what I think. Having that gray packaging over this brown is just totally different. Yeah, totally different. All right, we're going to get into alcohol inks now and talk about a lot of cool, exciting things in the world of alcohol inks. Now, the alcohol inks, what's nice about them, they are a solvent-based ink. And alcohol inks are really designed for non-porous surfaces. Okay? That's some music.
Good morning, everyone. There we have it. Turkey Tray area to exchange your voucher for the raffle tickets. Head on over to booth 1334 Race near the Creativation stage. The drawing will be done tonight at the awards ceremony, which starts at 5 o'clock. Viewers must be present. Don't forget to stop by the Saturday Night Sweet Spot in booth 1025 for some amazing demonstrations. They're going on all day long. Have fun out there.
You should do the announcements. That'd be really cool.
Or in the British accent.
Yes, of course. All right. So alcohol inks are a translucent dye designed for non-porous surfaces, and probably for the last year and a half, like this particular art medium has taken off. It's been used. I mean, it's been around in the Ranger world for 10 years, which is kind of crazy to even think that. But the fact that more and more artists are using this medium because it can work on glass and metal and UPO and alcohol ink cardstock, all sorts of cool things. This has been just a fun color to use. But in addition to having translucent inks, we've also released mixatives throughout the years. And these mixatives are pigments. And these pigments, when you use them with the dyes, they separate and create these polished stone and agates. You may have seen all those cool videos on YouTube. And that's really been our alcohol ink world for many years. But this year we decided to just introduce something totally new. And I believe that the idea of this was really inspired by what we were able to do with Distress Oxide, and that is the ability to combine dyes and pigments. So these are the new alcohol pearls, and what the alcohol pearls are, they are a dye and pigment fusion. So that pearl bonds to the ink. Okay, it's not like taking ink and mixative like we used to do before. This is a pearlized alcohol ink, and when you use it, it creates the most amazing pearl luster on your background. So this is what the alcohol pearls look like, and I'll pass them around so if you're doing some video you can kind of get that shimmer because the light really needs to hit it. Getting that, picking it up, you can see that it's just a beautiful pearl shimmer that happens on your ink, and there's no texture to it. It's not a mixative, it's not that strong pigment, and you can see on the bottom of each of these bottles that each color of ink has that same color of pearl. So when you mix it up and you shake it, it immediately fuses itself to the ink. So when I use this onto a background, that dye and pigment doesn't separate the way mixatives did. It actually stays as one. It creates that fluorescent look. So when I'm doing backgrounds with all of my inks, you can see that when it dries, we have that beautiful pearl finish. And again, all of these layers still stay totally smooth. So the colors, there are just some cool colors with some cool names. You know, we have colors like Enchanted and Deception, and yeah, it's really cool. Sublime and Villainous and Envy and Smolder and Mineral. I wanted to create kind of this feeling of just a very rich look, because I think that's what it does. It has such a great look to it. Now keep in mind that these pearls can also be used with alcohol. When you use it together, it creates beautiful backgrounds, just like we can do with our regular inks, because we can take that pearl and also mix it with some of our colors to create this kind of fluid background. Now before I get into the demo of how these pearls work, we also have new substrates, which anytime we have new consumable papers, we love all those papers.
Sorry.
3 new alcohol ink cardstocks. We have a matte black, we have a brushed silver, and we have a silver sparkle. Now, the black matte, I don't really use it much for alcohol ink just because I just don't. I like to work on white areas, but if you're going to use this black, you would use the snow cap mixative, and you need that white as a foundation. But this black cardstock is like my new favorite for matting any type of cards or artwork, because it's almost like a rubberized paper. You feel it. It's a very thick board. Beautiful cardstock. It's like crazy feel. Yeah, awesome for working on your background projects. But these other papers, this brushed silver and silver sparkle, create really unique effects when you use them with alcohol. This one, this brushed metallic, almost looks a little pearly to me. You know, if you use it with the inks, it's nice because you don't have that reflective mirrored cardstock that would get with the metallic. So it was something that was a little bit more industrial, and I like using it for grunge background. But the paper that everyone is going crazy for at the show, which, no surprise, it is a craft world after all, and that is going to be a silver sparkle. It's this beautiful sparkly paper. It is not a glittered cardstock. There is no texture to it. It's completely smooth. This is printed paper, but the beauty of it, it is a cardstock, and it is not the same as like the deco sheet. This was, if you are familiar with the Ideology line, this is the Ideology deco sheet that we had a few years ago. It's since been discontinued, but this was just a vinyl, right? That when you ink it, you can make different colors of sparkle. This, my friends, is cardstock, and you can see it's completely fine little sparkle, but take a look at what it looks like inked. Okay? When you ink this, you have just this unbelievable sparkly color. It works just like an alcohol ink cardstock would, which means everything is going to blend and drip. It's not going to soak right into that because it is paper and it doesn't bleed through the back, which is very, very nice. And I love the finish of this. It is also embossable. So if you're using it with embossing folders, any kind of 3D folders or fades, it really holds up well to embossing or die cutting. I think it's great. It's totally cool. Oh, absolutely. You can die cut it, you can punch it. It's just cardstock. So, yeah, it's not even laminated. Absolutely. You can die cut that as well. So those are all cardstocks. But then we have another substrate, something totally new that you can't die cut. And that's really going more for the artist because we know that in the alcohol ink world, in addition to being paper crafters and mixed media, there's a lot of people that are doing art, fine art, painting, and things like that. So we've teamed up with a company called Masterpiece who does a lot of surfaces for the art world. They do canvas boards and things like that. And we release hardcore art panels. And what they are, it is a board, okay? It's hardcore, it's wood, that has been laminated with a vinyl type substrate. So it's not peel and stick, you can't peel this off, it's on there. But this surface is going to allow us to do all types of painting, stamping, inking, and you have art, you have an art board. And these are available in 4x4 packs, 5x7 packs, and then multi-packs of rectangles and squares. But take a look at just some of the cool art you can do just on that board, because we can do our inks, we can do our blending. This is the alcohol lift ink on there, where you can stamp and lift, so it's a liftable surface. It has very similar kind of reactions to Yuko, but it is not Yuko. It has a little bit of a texture. I can also stamp on it. This is stamped without fiber, because it's oil-based. I can stamp right over that alcohol ink, and it just creates some beautiful works of art. This just was a happy accident. This was me inking a panel, hating everything I did, picking it up, putting blending solution on the entire thing, and then I did this, and I'm like, okay, new technique. And I just left it like, and then I started doing that to everything I did. So I was like, how are you getting that flow? I'm like, just ink it as you would, and then rinse it all off, and that's what you get. So let's do some demos. Let's show you how this stuff kind of works together. We'll start with some pearls, and I think I'll use a panel. So the pearls, you do need to shake them up. Now, what I would suggest, if you have an alcohol storage tin, right, and you're going to put pearls in there, I prefer to now store mine like this, and the only reason I do that is as long as your cap's on. If your lids aren't on, that's on you. But the reason I like that is because with anything that you need to shake, if it's a smaller area, you just have to shake more to get it all to go together. But if it's sideways, your pearl can actually lay out. So when you pick it up, it's like 2 or 3 shakes and the whole thing is mixed up. So if you're going to use your inks a lot, this just saves a lot of time. But these don't take nearly the mixing power that you need to mix it in. You can hear those balls just kind of battle right away because it's not that same pigment. It's really just a micropore that's in there. All right, let's go with some colors. These colors will work. I also want to have some colors of ink. So let's take, we'll take a little wild plum, we'll take a little cool. What else do we have? I never really know with me. What is this? Oh, that's a pearl. That's alchemy. Ooh, that's a good one. I'm going to use the ink for that. We use dandelion. Okay. So once I work with them, I'm going to take the caps off. It's just how I like to work. Because I believe that if you use a lot of alcohol inks, if you just kind of open them up, you'll have much more freedom to just throw in a little splash of this and a little splash of that. If you stop every single time to take the cap on and off, well, you'll probably be like, it doesn't really need red. I don't want to get the red and open it. Yeah. Funny how we are? It's kind of weird. All right. So next I'm just going to take the pearls. Now you can apply these however you wish. You can apply them strictly with the tool, or we can just go in and shake them on as well. And that's what I'm going to start with. I'm just shaking on some of that pearl. I'm going to throw in some of that ink, just to kind of get something going. The reason I start this way is I just need to get over myself. I need to just, you know, so many times you just think, where do I start? What do I do? If you just throw it on there, you have no choice but to just start working it in. I'm just going to run with the tool and just kind of mix that around, just to create a little foundation. And then we'll go in and we're going to add some of that pearl. I think I just stained my paper. Let me just see it. Lucky 10. One moment, please. We interrupt this broadcast for a safety video. When you,
Yes.
I know better. Tim knows better. There we go. Alcohol ink will stain. Now mine at home totally looks like this. And I'm okay with that because it still works, but this is not my media metal. This is rainbow, so I would hate to give it back dirty. There we go. Okay. So, as soon as I set that tool down on that power, I'm like, oh boy. All right. So here I'm just going to go in now. Hopefully the camera's going to pick it up. Let me try with a color like Celestial, because I know that one really shows a sparkle. I don't know if you're seeing that kind of sparkle. It looks a little sizzly when it goes on. Can you see that pearl just like, can you see that kind of dancing a little bit? It's kind of hard for the camera to pick it up, but it's really, really cool. Yeah, it's awesome. But I'm also going to go with my inks. Okay. I'm going to put a little bit of color on here. Let's throw a little bit of blue on here. Throw a little bit of blending solution on this. Really play around with these because you're just going to get some great effects, great backgrounds using your alcohol inks and your pearls. Now, once I have this, now I'm just going to be stupid silly with my inks. Just want to throw some different colors on there. I'm going to use a little splendor, little villainous. I know, it's like I know, right? Tranquil, envy, a little smolder. Smolder is like this mushroomy, smoky, smoldery color, but it's got a very cool pearl color to it. All right. So at any point, you can just step away from the panel, but I want to show you one of the things that I really liked about working with this board. Okay. And some people will look at that and go, wow, that's great art. And I thank you, but it really isn't. All right. Here's one thing to point out, and that's why I just kept throwing stuff on there. Normally in the alcohol world, if we used alcohol ink and mixative, every time I shook on a layer, it would have separated what was down before, right? If we had inks and mixatives and you shake on that ink, it's going to push away that metallic. But you can see here now that the whole thing almost looks pearlized. It's because when I was adding the ink, when the ink hits the alcohol pearl, it actually pearlizes that color. It will take over that other color and pearlize it. So it's totally different than what we've ever done with alcohol when we're used to like, oh, I'll use a little bit of pearl, a little bit of this, and I'll get that polished stone. You won't with that. So let's see if we can get a good drippage on this one. I'm just going to dry it. It's going to air dry, but I have no time for it. So I just want to make sure it's dry. And I'm just going to take some blending solution. I know, you just want it like that.
Go for it. Like 2 steps back.
Someone asked alcohol inks playing to mixed media, and I think obviously this is a perfect background to start. I got a couple cents. On top of this.
So, yeah, absolutely. You can add anything you want on top of this because in the world of mixed media, you can change up your substrate. So here we can use this as a foundation for collage. We can still use collage medium over this because that's water-based. We can stamp over the top of this. We can certainly add metal embellishments because alcohol inks will alter anything in mixed media. Everything from polymer clay to embossing powder to beeswax to canvas because it's a solvent-based ink. But even this, you don't have to know what you're doing. Clearly, well, I was doing it. I was just putting it on there. But having different substrates, it's really about finding the best substrate for what you're trying to achieve. I think sometimes, even as artists, we look at even watercolor. I know when I first started out watercoloring, I went in with watercolor and I was having the worst luck ever getting my color to move. Found out it was the paper. because I thought the paper I was using was great watercolor, but not all watercolor paper is created equal. And then when you change that surface, wow, all of a sudden my colors look like what I see on YouTube. You know, my blends, well, not that good. I'm no Christina Warner, although I wish I could color like that. But the point is, like, even with alcohol ink, if you only use glossy cardstock, believe it or not, glossy cardstock, and that is to alcohol ink users, right? That's what we've had for years. This paper is the most porous paper you own. Anything will go into this. Even a water-based marker won't come off of that. A water-based marker becomes permanent on glossy cardstock, which most people just think, well, no, it's glossy. Wouldn't it just wipe off? No, it's going to soak right in. So if you use alcohol ink and I did all that drippage like I just did, and I did blending solution, it's going nowhere, right? So you would think, oh, that didn't work. It was all about the substrate. So play around with different substrates to use this. But this, yeah, we could do a lift on this. We can go in with our ink pad. That's pretty cool, right? Yeah, I like it. And if you kept going, like obviously on this one, just to show you the difference, this was just, you can tell I just kept going with blending solution, right? So if you don't want to have those breaks, but I discovered this one yesterday when I was dripping, like I kept getting these little breaks. I'm like, oh, I kind of like that. I like that, you know, as I was going, it just was missing these little areas. So I dig that. But if you want to all over blend, you're going to just kept going with blending solution from side to side all the way down, and then it would create that cool blender background. Pretty awesome. Yeah, that's, I think, what is really interesting. Now let me show you sparkle. Let me show you this one. Okay, because this one is interesting. This, you could use the alcohol pearls on this, but you don't need to, because that shimmer is in the paper, not the ink. So personally, I wouldn't use my pearls just because, well, they're pearls. I'm going to use them when it matters, and that would be because I want pearlescent background. So I'm just going to stick with my colors for this one. And I like to demo it because when I was first playing around with this paper, I thought when I added the ink that I totally screwed it up, and you'll see exactly what I mean. So seeing it is important, because when you get a pack of this and you go to use it, you're like, oh my God, I did something wrong, something happens. Because when you apply the alcohol ink, it completely erases all the sparkle for a moment, okay? But it will come back, so don't freak you free. All right, just gonna put some colors on there. So again, we could use the pearls if we want to, but it won't change the finish. Okay, doesn't make it any shimmerier. Okay, now I'm inking it. You see right away that sparkle gone, right? You just think something just happened, like it all went away. If I throw in some colors, okay, even if I throw in some blending solution, right? Maybe I want to drip on more of this. But you can see that everything that we're doing is just gone. Yeah, it breaks it up, but that sparkliness is no more. But when it dries, it will sparkle. And we can let it air dry, but I'll just show you that it is a heat stable surface. So when this alcohol ink dries, my sparkle will come right back. Yeah. I know. And you don't have to heat it to make this happen. It just, the alcohol ink needs to dry. So it's just important to see that when you put it on, you're like, oh my God, that didn't work. Because that's just what I thought. I'm like, oh boy, this is not alcohol ink paper, no good. And then I threw it in the garbage, because that's just what I do. And then I looked in the garbage and I'm like, that's probably good. Okay, Mr. Impatient, let's see what happens. And you know, another thing I wanted to, of course, see, is it heat stable? Can I dry it? That sort of thing. But this, believe it or not, gets that reaction that I've never ever seen with a sparkly paper, because normally a sparkly paper, if I try to change my background, it's too late. If I drip the color on there, that drip is forever a drip. But this has kind of that same kind of cool factor. If I wanted to create that blend or that drip.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah, people are going to be like, I need blending solution like in a bug spray. I need one of those outdoor garden pumps now. Yeah. It's cool. And ironically, Ranger just released a mini blending solution. Yeah, they're like, look, we have a blending solution in a tiny size. I'm like,
You know what? Those are really good if you're doing a workshop.
but it's great because of the tin. It was really designed because if you have the storage tin and you wanted to just take a nice set of inks with you, and you need blending solution because that is the magic elixir, now you have one that fits in the tin. And that was really why we did it, is that, you know, if you wanted to travel with it or you needed some storage, look at that. Stop it right now. Ridiculous. Yeah, but now we have that cute little blending solution that just fits. Yeah, exactly. It's cute. And you could refill it if you want. I mean, you could pull out the top and fill it with your big one, but Yeah, that is sparkling, silver sparkling. That's magic. And you can ink over it again. So everything you're doing with the surface, if you wanted to ink on it, stamp on it because it's really smooth, it's pretty awesome. You know, in our alcohol world, it's really awesome to be able to see that a surface can completely change a product, right? When you see alcohol ink, we're used to this, and this is just beautiful, right? You want that. No, you want to put that right in your phone case. But this is very cool, but being able to take that and just change the overall appearance simply by changing a substrate, that's what's always, I think, exciting in the craft world, is give me something that I can use what I already have, that's going to give me something slightly different. You may not want everything sparkly, you may not want everything blended, but I really love the alcohol ink surfaces and the new pearls. They're just
What ink would you use to stamp over at Archival?
Archival.
Yep,
Yeah,
okay.
Archival is just my thing. The reason is, especially on alcohol ink, if you stamp with a solvent-based ink,
Yep.
solvent reacts with solvent. So if you stamp with a solvent-based permanent ink over alcohol ink, your image will wick. It will blur. So that's why I love Archival, because it's oil-based. It sits right on top, just like this. This is Archival ink on a background.
Okay.
Stamped right over the top. And you can see that it just has just great, crisp clarity. It's just awesome. So, very cool.
Thank you, Tim.
Thanks, you guys. It's awesome.
Diane.